I was bullied terribly, starting in like 5th grade through 7th grade. And it got so bad that my parents pulled me out of the public school.
Hi, it's Kara. Welcome back to Really Famous. Are you ready to get to know Reid Scott on another level? You are going to, and here's why. Because when Reid came in, he started opening up about how he was bullied as a child, and I was like, I should warn you that I was a therapist, and he's like, oh, I know, and we just got right into it. So check it out, hang out with us, here we go. So I should tell you in advance that I was a therapist.
I know.
Oh, you do?
Oh, yeah. I'm hoping to get my money's worth out of this.
No wonder
conversation.
You came right in with
I'm in the market
stuff.
for a new therapist, so this could really work out.
Yes. Okay. Good. Because I like that not to be a turnoff. I like
not
it to be a okay.
Not at all.
Does it intimidate you?
No, not really. I'm fascinated by that stuff. I think it's really interesting. Yeah, I am. I've gone through enough therapy in my life that I welcome it. I think it's really healthy.
Same. I love it. I'm fascinated by people, so I'm into it too.
Clearly.
Right. Okay, so you're an on-time person. Your parents were not there. So tell me a little bit more about them. We'll go right in.
Yeah, my dad's an attorney. My mom is retired now, but she was a public school art teacher for 30 plus years, I want to say. And we grew up in like a very, like a wonderful, very normal, upper middle class, I guess, neighborhood in Saratoga County, upstate New York.
Oh, Saratoga County. I knew it was upstate New York.
Yeah.
I love Saratoga.
It was beautiful. It was a great, great place to grow up. Very, version of Norman Rockwell, I guess. I never had a key to my house until I was 18. You would just like let yourself in, let yourself out. If there was nobody home and you wanted to go next door to the neighbors, you just walked into the neighbor's house, that kind of thing. I think because of my mom's schedule as a teacher, competing with my sisters and my schedule as students, she wasn't really there to sort of pick us up because she would always be staying after. And I went to an all-boys Catholic military school in Troy, New York, which is beyond redundant, I know.
Wait, so when was this, high school?
This was high school. This is junior high and high school.
Okay.
And my dad worked in Albany, and he was a busy lawyer, so it was always kind of like, I'm going to try to make it to the game, but if I can't, I'll pick you up right after the game. And sure enough, some trial would go along or some deposition would go along, and I'd be the kid who was sort of sitting on the front steps with like all my gear,
Or Reid. I get it, though.
And so now with my kids, I'm like, if I'm 5 minutes late to get them, I'm like freaking out that they're not gonna love me anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I do stress out about that too. I don't think it's because, I don't think I was ever late being, my mom was she is a teacher. Well, she's a retired teacher now, but she taught 2nd grade mostly. But like I said, she's retired now, but for the first few years, she wasn't teaching, and she was like a stay-at-home mom, very involved in the schools. And then she went back to work at a certain point. But I was older, I guess, maybe middle school, I think. I don't even remember. But I still feel like I would never want to not be there to pick up any of my kids when they have a thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why. It's not a hang-up necessarily. I just would not want to do it.
I was always a pretty independent kid, so it never really bothered me.
Yeah.
It was more, I didn't, like if someone had to miss the game or miss the activity, that didn't bother me so much. It was just sort of like, oh man, I'm ready to go home.
Right.
I just want to go home.
Right. All right, so what kind of kid were you?
I was mostly a good kid, I think. I mean, not good enough that I didn't get sent
so you got sent for a reason?
Military school. Yeah, I wasn't a deviant or anything like that. It was a combination of things, I'm sure. I was young for my grade, and so when I was a little kid, I was very precocious, as my mom puts it. Although she doesn't use the word precocious, then she just uses the word annoying. I was like a chatterbox, and I was an only child until I was 5.5. And so the way my mom tells it, she's like, I needed to put you in school. Like nursery school wasn't enough, so they started me kindergarten early. So that's what made me young for my grade. And then the public school that I went to wanted to actually skip me ahead a grade. And so we tried it, and it was an epic failure. By 5th grade, I was just way behind everybody, more socially than anything else. And then I think that led to me kind of acting out a little bit. I was never like it's more of a class clown, if anything. I was never, destructive or really that disruptive. But then I think also because I was younger, different, a little more awkward than the other kids, I was bullied terribly, starting in like 5th grade through 7th grade. And it got so bad that my parents pulled me out of the public school and sent me to LaSalle, which, at the time, I think I was 12 in 7th grade, so that's young. And I understood why I was leaving, but LaSalle was such a strict environment. It felt like a punishment, so it felt like I was being punished on top of being punished, which is weird, and it took me a while to transition to it. In hindsight, it was a great school, and it was the right move for me because it was very structured, and they held me back a grade, so I was then like with
equal
kids my age, and it changed everything. It just changed everything. So a lot of discipline, very rigorous academically, great sports school, and it's actually where you wouldn't think it because it's such a, you don't think of the arts necessarily when you think of military school, but it's where I sort of fell in love with art and just in general. And my mom was an art teacher, but there were some teachers at the school, the drama teacher and some of the art teachers. They were fantastic for any school. They could have been
anywhere. You would never think that would be the case there, but that's so cool. So were you bullied there too, or did that end? No,
that really ended. That was it. I found my groove. Like I really think sort of evening out the age issue helped a lot. And then I fell in with, the cool thing about that school is everyone there was really smart.
I was just going to say, obviously you're super smart.
Oh, thank you.
And that's why you...
Obviously.
No, really.
Yeah,
and that's obviously why your mom and the school and everybody was pushing you forward. It is a tricky balance of like emotionally do you grow at the same level? You're emotionally what age versus intellectually what age?
Oh, yeah.
So were you always much smarter than do you remember hearing that or feeling that?
I remember hearing that. I don't necessarily remember feeling it. But yeah, it was, when I was, and my mom fought against it. She was a teacher within that public school district.
Yeah.
And when they said that they wanted to skip me up a grade, she and my dad really resisted. And I'm not really sure why, but the public school basically gave them an ultimatum saying like, well, if he stays here, we're going to do it.
That's so weird. Like, I feel like a school wouldn't normally do that, right?
They would never do that now.
Quite the opposite, I think. They would resist it.
I think so, too. So I don't know what exactly, this was the early 80s, so I don't know what was going on then. But I think it was at a time when, like, a lot of the, like, the GATE programs were really sort of taking off. And so they were just trying to shove kids in there. So it was a weird, and it led to the part of the ostracization, if that's the right word. So I was always the kid that was like getting pulled out to go do like random testing. Was like looking at Rorschachs and getting all these kind of crazy, quizzes and programming robots and, learning French in 1st grade. And I was like, I'm not asking to do this. I don't even particularly enjoy this at all. And there were other kids in the program that loved it because they were the right age and they got it.
Right.
And me, it's sort of like,
intrigued.
I want clay.
You want clay.
I want dirt. I want trucks.
Yeah.
Like it was.
So I have a little story similar too.
Do you?
Yeah, different but similar. So I was in 5th grade, and in my elementary school, we had 2 classes. It was like 20 kids maybe in each class. So this is not a big school. This was suburban New Jersey, suburban New York and New Jersey. And I was, chosen for the gifted program or whatever. I was the only one in my grade for some bizarre reason. I'm like, why? So there were other schools like in the nearby districts or whatever. So they would pull the kids out to go to a program during the day, like in the afternoons, with the other kids from the other schools at another school. So a bus came to pick me up as a 5th grader, just me, and all my friends are like hanging out doing their thing.
Were you the only kid on the bus, or the other kids from the other schools were on the bus too?
I don't remember, but I was the only one from my school going on that bus, and probably there were other kids from the other schools, but they all had other kids. Mine was the only one in my school. I don't know what was wrong with my district that they felt only one kid. I hated it.
Yeah.
And then we got to the point where one day my friends hid me from the bus. It came to pick me up. And then, of course, they thought I could get away with it. I went back into my classroom, and then, of course, the teacher gets a phone call from the office, we need Kara for the bus.
That's a baller move, though. Yeah, I like that.
It was a baller, but also stupid.
You stowed away inside.
It's really gifted, right?
Yeah.
I really, I'm not going to be noticed. So that was
It's advanced, though, to try to pull that off.
I guess. I hated it. I didn't last long in that program at all. I was done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just sort of gritted my teeth through it and got through it, and then when I went to junior high, I don't even remember if they had those programs in the junior high that I went to. But yeah, by then, like, the bullying was just like, it was
what did they do?
Out of control.
What were you talking about?
I mean, you name it. It was like, cornering me in the bathroom for a fight, or just, endless taunting, making fun of anything that you possibly could. The way you wear your hair, the way you wear your clothes, the way you walk, the way you talk, what you're into. The fact that I was pretty decent at some sports, but skateboarding was huge at the time, and I liked it, but I wasn't by any means a gifted skateboarder.
Okay.
And it was just, it was awful. It was
That's
awful.
the worst. I feel for everybody to some degree is teased and whatever else, but that's just that's bad enough.
Oh yeah.
But to go to that kind of level, I feel for all the kids who are in school almost every kid I feel for from 6th grade on, because to some degree there's that.
It's the worst. That's the word that age, and I'm dreading it as a parent.
Yeah.
So much so that even when I see those little glimmers, and I have 2 boys, if they ever do anything that hurts anyone's feelings, I'm on them about it, because it's just, you look back at your younger self, it's like, oh man, if only I was a little bit tougher, or maybe if my skin was a little bit thicker, if I didn't let it penetrate quite so deeply. And I try to impart some of those lessons to my older son without making him fearful.
Yeah.
But I mean, my boys are 7.5 and almost 5.
Oh,
so,
cute.
Oh, it's a great age.
Yeah.
But they can't conceptualize these things yet, so I just got to ride it out.
Ride it out and just enjoy, because you'll get to that point and you can worry about it then.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about it now.
Yeah, that's true.
Enjoy that you don't have to think about it.
Thank you, I will.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like it at all. I'm but again, the world comes down to psychology again. And the reason why you got bullied, and everybody who does, is because of the psychological issues of the bullies.
Yeah, I know. I've tried to reconcile a little bit of that. My wife was bullied too. She has a very similar story. She had to change schools because the bullying got so bad.
She did.
I think it was different than mine, but I mean, girls can be cruel. She had it kind of just as bad as me, just in a slightly different way. And I think that's something that, we're both very obviously keenly aware of, but it's made us who we are in a way. So I don't know that I would go back and change any of it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, man, it gets in there. It's hard to you kind of you get triggered real easily, that stuff.
You do. So what triggers you now?
Just insensitivity, and I'm positive that I'm insensitive all the time, and human beings are.
Yeah.
But I mean, I definitely didn't choose the right business for healthy egos and things like that. So, we've heard the stories of bullying in Hollywood, and I certainly haven't been a victim of anything quite as bad as all that. But those personalities exist. It doesn't. I can sniff out a former bully in in 10 seconds flat. And it surprised me in this business, because I thought, aren't we all nerds? Aren't we all dorks that didn't belong anywhere? So we all got into drama club and stuff like that.
I don't think so.
And now it's oh no, that's not it at all. That's not it at all. The bullies became part of the same business because it's fun, I guess.
Right, it's fun. Yeah. But here's a question: do they tend to go into one area of the business? Do they have a similar role?
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly probably attracted to the power positions,
right?
Agents or executives or stuff like that. I look, and there's, I owe everything I've done in my career to somebody looking out for me at some place. So there's wonderful people in all those positions, but Hollywood's just a repeat of high school.
But I think everything
really
is.
Everything is, I guess. Yeah, you're probably right.
I feel like it is.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of things, even I would even notice it in like the suburbs raising my kids.
Mm-hmm.
The moms and the dads, that was high school. And it wasn't in a certain industry. So that's across the board people.
Yeah.
So it's like high school just keeps repeating. And then the people who sort of get over their issues, they just move on. But
Yeah.
I think that there are a lot of people who don't get over the issues. And that's why they're still acting that way
That's
as adults. That's what I can pick up on quickly is like, okay, you have unresolved issues from that era that you're playing out now because you haven't figured it out yet.
Mm-hmm.
But the people normally who are really good to work with, or, you just know you trust them,
Mm-hmm.
they've worked it out.
Yeah.
They figured out whatever the issues were because, we all grew up with certain things that bother us.
That's true.
See, a good therapist doesn't just give advice.
That's true. Yeah. Listening. A lot of listening.
Connecting the dots.
Yeah.
Observing and then giving the client or patient or whatever you want to call it feedback if and when they're ready to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
That's more of the job.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I think I've been involved in some sort of like therapy probably since I was a kid, not like all the way through, but and there were times like definitely during like the bullying era, like we would go to like a family psychologist and try to like, work some stuff out, and then for other various reasons. And then in my own like adult life, I've been through several therapists, each for like very long like chunks of time. One moved away. So sort of like, that sort of ended that one. Another one, there was a weird line that got crossed where it wasn't anything like really perverse, but it was like they sort of expressed sort of like, I care about you in a way that is maybe a little inappropriate. And at least they brought that up, and it's like, oh, interesting. Okay, so I guess we stop here. And then a couple here and there that I just sort of didn't connect with, and sort of felt like, oh man, I don't want to wind everything up again.
Yeah.
But I'm not feeling this sort of connection. And now I'm at a place, because I really have always seen the value in it, and I want to do more, but I've heard these other podcasts about these like intensive sessions where you go for like a week, 10 days, and you're journaling constantly, and you're doing like hours a day. And something like that sounds so appealing to me, because it's like, I want to get this stuff, I want to like, take it, and I want to just, crumble all this stuff up and like spill it out and see what it is and get through it, rather than just listen to myself, start at the beginning of my story, and spend the next 5 years listening to myself say the same things over and over and over again.
I know what you mean. You don't want to just do that again. You don't want to just keep doing that again. So I'm sure you've resolved or figured out a bunch of things. What do you feel like is it new stuff, or is it something you can't put your finger on? Do you feel like something? Yeah,
it's more like I can definitely put my finger on where a lot of things stem from, but there's like a nuance to it. And I've worked, maybe not through those things, but dug heavily into those things. And for whatever reason, there's like a little bit of residue there that I can't quite.
So it's the same topics you're saying? Like, do they relate to?
Yeah, for the most part. And maybe it's just as I'm getting older, or the fact that I'm a dad now, I'm sure like new, like mini layers are getting, exposed, and sort of like, oh, wow, I didn't think about it in that way. And maybe I haven't cleared it out that way necessarily. So, I don't know. My dad always had a quote that I always liked. I mean, I hated it when he would sort of say it every single day, but now I really get it, that you're never a finished product.
Oh, well, that's a fact.
Right, of course, it is.
He's right.
And I don't think I really understood and like I always knew generally what that meant, but even like emotionally, like you never hit a point. I think I thought you hit your point, like, oh, you're in your 40s, you know who you are, and you're either a good person or you're not. You're a grounded person or you're not. And I'm realizing sort of like you could be as grounded as you want, and there's still stuff underneath your emotional floorboards, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Yeah. And then the good flip side, though, to that is that we're always evolving.
Right.
So you can grow and grow and grow and grow exponentially for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's exciting.
So, and you can learn more about yourself or whatever else. But yes, I know what you mean. Like you feel like, okay, with all this therapy and all this time, why still stuff?
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I mean, I do feel like maybe a different type of therapy might be the thing for you then.
I think so. Yeah, I'm also just I'm intrigued by this stuff. Like,
yeah.
I just find it interesting. It's like I'm not like walking around like with these issues kind of like weighting me down or anything like that. They're there, and I talk about it with my wife, or I talk about it with people that are close to me, and that's its own sort of form of therapy. You know, surrounding yourself with people that get you and that probably have similar issues or insights into those issues, and you sort of help therapize each other. I got lucky. Like my parents are very interested in, you know, the experience. My dad has, you know, God love him, has a lot of maxims that are like, that's his thing. Like
we already talked about one or two.
And I think that comes from his, like, and he's a history buff. So I think he's really interested in the sort of like, you know, the human condition, you know, what makes us who we are. My mom is too, because she's an artist, and my in-laws are just so emotionally available. Like my wife hit the fucking jackpot with her folks.
She did.
They're like they're unicorns. They shouldn't exist. No one should be that kind and sweet all the time. And I think maybe even at first I was like, this is suspect. Yeah, what do you got? What are you hiding? They're like, you know, spies or something like that. So yeah, I have I'm lucky that I have that in my life. I think, I don't know, in a way, but at the same time, my wife always hears me complain, you know, sort of like, I don't have any buddies to just like go out and like do this thing with. And granted, we're all busy because all my friends have kids now. We're all working and stuff like that. And she reminds me sort of like, you know, guys don't stay connected the way women stay connected.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely true. Like if you put all the guys in a room together, we're having the greatest time. But we're not like picking up the phone and chatting. You know, it's usually humorous texts here and there, some witty emails letting somebody know like an update in someone's life and stuff like that. And then that's kind of it, unless it's in person. So as much as I have in my life for those people that I can sort of be that open with, I guess I always want more.
Yeah. I love getting together with friends. Like, love it. So I'm trying to do more of it now, even just like coffee. That's it. I'll meet a friend for coffee or meet a friend for lunch, whatever it is. And I'm really like, I love those things so much. I feed off of those times so much. But I'm often like you. I'm like, I have nobody to just like say, hey, let's go get coffee with.
Yeah.
And then other times I'll be like, well, I just had the coffee with this one and that one and whatever. So I guess I do. But I always feel like, but again, a part of it is I think that everybody has their own.
Right? And then if you have coffee like 5 days in a row, you're sort of like, man, I need a break. I don't want to see anybody. I just want to be. I want to be alone.
Right. Yeah. But I like it. I feel like the older I get, the more that I've always been like a very individual person, an independent person. Yeah. No problem being alone. I love being by myself. Like I could just go walk the beach by myself, perfectly happy. But at the same time, I find the older that I get, the more I crave that human connection. That real human connection, though. Yes. Yeah. I don't want to just be around people just to be around people. No, right. Yeah. But it feeds me. Yeah. And I really like it. Yep. So, yeah, I think friends are more important than we even realize a lot. But I think the whole world is about human connection and, as I said before, human psychology. This was just part of our talk. Reid and I get really into what's happening behind the scenes of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and he tells me all kinds of stories about what happened on Veep. So if you want to watch that part, click on the link in today's show notes.